Welcome to Ink to Gold, a Pages of Possibilities podcast. I'm discussing Steve Black's article. Why do hardworking entrepreneurs keep feeling stuck?
And if you are a business owner or a solopreneur listening to this right now, we really need to talk about that feeling of perpetual exhaustion.
Yeah, you probably know exactly what I mean. You're constantly working, you're putting in the hours, just grinding it out day after day.
But sometimes the needle just absolutely refuses to move.
Right. You look at your metrics at the end of the month or the end of the quarter, and despite all that sweat equity, your revenue or your growth is right back where you started.
It's an incredibly common experience, and it's actually the foundational trap that Steve Black identifies in this article.
He's got, what, 40 years of experience building businesses?
Exactly, 40 years.
Yeah.
And his core observation just cuts right through all the noise. He points out that entrepreneurs consistently mistake activity for progress.
Yes, that is such a vital distinction.
It is, because if you're feeling stuck, it is highly unlikely that you're stuck because of a lack of effort. I mean, laziness is rarely the solopreneur's problem.
Never. We work all the time.
Right, you're stuck because you are constantly operating in reaction mode. You know, you're answering every incoming email, putting out fires, responding to every little notification on your phone.
Instead of dictating your own direction on paper.
Exactly.
And before we really get into the mechanics of this, I want to establish a quick tone check for us today.
A good idea.
This conversation isn't going to be about inspirational theory. We are not here to offer motivational fluff or tell you to just believe in your dreams harder.
Definitely not.
This is a direct, teaching-focused look at the practical, mechanical actions you need to take to fix the problem of being stuck. Steve's approach is entirely about what you need to do tonight, with a pen and paper, to fundamentally change how you operate tomorrow morning.
To really understand why we fall into this trap, we have to look at a biological truth that Steve points out early in the article.
The dopamine thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. The human brain is actually optimized for activity, not necessarily for strategic direction. Our brains absolutely love to check things off a list.
Oh, totally. No matter how trivial those things might be.
Right, because every single check mark delivers a quick hit of dopamine. So when you spend 2 hours clearing out your inbox or maybe rearranging your digital files or tweaking the colors on your website,
You feel like a genius.
your brain rewards you. It feels incredibly productive. But while your brain is optimized for mere activity, a successful business strictly requires direction.
And those are two entirely different things.
Completely different.
That dopamine hit from fake productivity is so dangerous. I mean, it completely explains the toxic hustle culture we see everywhere online.
Oh, you mean the LinkedIn posts?
Yes. The people posting photos of their coffee at 3:00 a.m., bragging about how they haven't slept in 3 days. We wear that exhaustion like a badge of honor.
And Steve actually shares his own story about falling into that exact trap. For the first decade of his career, he treated a 14-hour workday as the ultimate proof that he was a dedicated entrepreneur.
He thought that just being exhausted meant he was succeeding.
And he was doing everything right, according to standard business activities.
Yeah.
He was taking the meetings, making the calls, pushing the paperwork.
But it took a mentor sitting him down to break the spell.
Yeah, the mentor pointed out his actual stagnant results, forced him to realize that he was going absolutely nowhere. He was just on a treadmill.
Because he hadn't clearly defined what forward actually looked like on paper. Which leads us directly into what Steve calls the illusion of priority.
Right.
When you haven't defined your direction, everything feels equally important. A minor client request about a typo feels just as urgent as a major strategic pivot that could double your business.
So how do we actually fix this?
Well, Steve provides a very specific mechanism. Tonight, you need to open your journal and write down this exact prompt.
Get a pen ready for this one. Seriously. The prompt is, if I could only accomplish one thing this month to double my revenue, what is it?
But the application of this prompt is where the real work happens. Steve instructs that you need to write continuously for 10 full minutes on that single question.
You do not stop writing.
Right. And this isn't just a casual thigh exercise. It is a physical, mechanical action. When you force yourself to write for that long about one specific outcome, it strips away all the daily noise.
It physically forces you to name the one thing that actually matters.
Exactly, which completely kills the dangerous illusion that everything on your to-do list is a priority.
Okay, but let me push back on that application a bit. 10 minutes of continuous writing sounds simple, but in practice, it's incredibly difficult.
It is.
If I sit down with that prompt, I might write my initial surface-level answer in about 2 minutes. For the remaining 8 minutes, my hand is cramping, my brain is screaming at me to check my phone, and I feel like I'm just staring at a blank page. What is the actual benefit of sitting in that friction?
Well, that friction is exactly the point.
Yeah. Those first 2 minutes are just your brain regurgitating the easy, safe answers, the things you already know you should be doing.
The surface stuff.
Right. The magic happens in minutes 3 through 10. When you exhaust the obvious answers, your brain is forced to dig into the actual, sometimes uncomfortable mechanics of your business.
Okay, I see.
You start moving past, I need to market more, and you finally arrive at, I need to completely overhaul my sales funnel because my current conversion rate is terrible.
So the 10-minute rule forces you past the superficial layer and into the structural truth of your revenue.
Exactly. You have to endure the blank page to get to the breakthrough.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But identifying that core goal is really only half the battle. We have to talk about why hardworking entrepreneurs actually stay stuck for years, even when they successfully identify what they should be doing.
Because I think we've all had moments of brilliant clarity.
Where we know exactly what the needle mover is.
And then we just don't do.
Right. That brings us to the real reason for the plateau. It isn't just a lack of clarity. It is active avoidance.
Entrepreneurs often stay stuck because they consciously or maybe subconsciously choose the comfort of a perpetually busy schedule over the intense discomfort of making a hard decision.
Being too busy is a very convenient, socially acceptable excuse to avoid doing the thing that absolutely terrifies you.
It's the ultimate shield. It is infinitely easier for me to say, I can't work on that massive strategic pivot today because I have 75 urgent emails to answer, than it is to face the very real possibility of failure that comes with massive change.
Steve calls this hidden fear the ghost in the machine, and he has a specific unlocking prompt to confront it.
This is a great one.
Here is what you need to do. Open your journal and fill in this exact blank, honestly. I am doing X, Y, and Z, but the needle isn't moving because I am afraid to blank.
It is a highly confrontational exercise, and it really needs to be. Stave provides some excellent real-world business examples of what typically goes into that blank. For instance, you might realize you are afraid to raise your prices.
Oh, that's a big one.
You know your margins are vanishing, you know you're overworking yourself for way too little return, but you are terrified that if you raise your rates, all of your clients will leave.
So instead of facing that fear, you just keep churning out underpriced work and telling yourself you're hustling.
Exactly.
Another brilliant example he gives is being afraid to fire a good enough client.
We all know this client.
Yes, we do. They pay their bills, so you justify keeping them around, but they constantly push boundaries, demand revisions, and completely drain your team's resources.
They're holding you back from acquiring better, higher-paying clients.
But firing them means a temporary dip in guaranteed income, which is terrifying.
It is. Or consider the fear of pivoting away from a legacy product. You might have a product or service that literally built your business 5 years ago.
It's your identity.
Right. But the market has moved on. It no longer serves your current vision, and maintaining it takes up half your week.
You're terrified to let it go because of sentimentality and fear of the unknown.
So we hide behind the busy work of maintaining these obsolete things so we don't have to pull the trigger on hard choices.
But the result of actually taking this action, of writing this down, is profound. The moment you fill in that blank on paper, avoidance becomes impossible.
You can't unsee it.
You can't pretend you don't know what the core issue is anymore. The moment you name the fear, it stops being this vague, intimidating ghost haunting your daily operations.
It instantly transforms into a tangible, defined problem.
And as a business owner, a tangible problem is simply a data point. It's something you can solve with a concrete action plan.
It completely removes the emotional weight. It turns a paralyzing anxiety into a logistical hurdle.
Which is much easier to jump.
Exactly. But even after you have identified the real needle mover and dragged your fears out into the light, you still have to execute.
And you can't execute if your time is constantly being hijacked. You have to build a defense mechanism for your attention.
Which means installing what Steve calls your 90-day internal compass.
Because let's be real, a business owner's inbox is basically just a continuous, organized stream of someone else's priorities.
That is so true. Every email is someone else asking you to put their needs ahead of your own strategic direction.
You need an inbox defense system to filter the endless stream of opportunities, requests, and distractions that hit you every single day.
Steve provides a brilliant, straightforward method for this. He calls it the T-chart method, and it's a routine designed specifically for Sunday nights.
Walk us through it.
You take a blank journal page and you draw a line straight down the center. On the left side of that line, you write your one primary business goal for the next 90 days.
Just one clear, definitive goal.
Just one. Then, on the right side of the line, you list every single major project that is currently eating up your time and energy.
So once you have that visual laid out, you apply the filter question, you look at every single project on the right side of the page, and you ask yourself, does this project directly accelerate the goal on the left?
And that introduces the hard rule. You have to be absolutely ruthless here.
Meaning?
If the answer to that question is not a definitive, immediate yes, then that project is a distraction. Period.
Wow.
It doesn't matter how productive it feels to do it, how much you enjoy it, or how right it seems in the moment. If it doesn't accelerate the goal on the left, it is actively holding you back.
I have to play devil's advocate here, though.
Go for it.
Drawing a line on a page sounds fantastic in theory, but as a solopreneur, I have to put out short-term fires, or my business literally burns down.
Right.
What if the project on the right is updating my payroll software or filing quarterly taxes? That doesn't double my revenue, and it doesn't accelerate the 90-day goal, but if I don't do it, I'm in massive trouble. How does Steve's method account for the necessary evils of running a business?
That is a crucial distinction. The T-chart isn't meant to eliminate basic operational maintenance. Paying taxes, keeping the lights on, fulfilling existing
The
contracts.
stuff that keeps you out of jail.
Exactly. Those are baseline requirements. The T-chart is designed to filter out the discretionary projects that masquerade as growth.
Oh, I see.
It's targeting that new marketing initiative you're pouring hours into that doesn't actually target your ideal demographic. It's targeting the 3 hours you spend tweaking your website copy instead of making sales calls.
You will always have to do the administrative baseline, but the T-chart prevents you from adopting new, shiny distractions that steal time from your true needle mover.
That makes perfect sense. It forces you to differentiate between maintenance and actual momentum.
And the return on investment for this specific practice is staggering. Steve notes that even after 40 years in business, he still uses this exact T-chart template every single Sunday night.
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
It takes him just 10 minutes to draw a line and filter his projects, but he estimates it saves him 40 hours of wasted effort every single week.
40 hours a week saved by a 10-minute reality check. That's incredible.
It actively prevents him from trading his long-term vision just to put out short-term fires.
But as vital as that clarity is, clarity in a journal is completely useless if it doesn't translate into actual physical execution on Monday morning.
Knowing what to do and actually doing it are separated by a massive gulf.
Exactly. That means we have to discuss moving from the journal to the planner.
This is the execution contract. This is where all the theory and the journaling become reality. Once you have achieved clarity through the prompts and your Sunday T-chart, you must immediately transition to your daily planner.
You cannot let that clarity just sit in a notebook on your nightstand.
Steve's scheduling rule is non-negotiable here. You take that one needle mover task, the one you identified, that will either double your revenue or conquer that fear holding you back.
And you write it at the very top of tomorrow's schedule.
It becomes the undisputed priority of the day.
And this introduces a discipline metric that I think challenges a lot of modern business advice. Over his decades of experience, Steve observed that the most successful entrepreneurs are rarely the ones with the most brilliant, groundbreaking ideas.
Ideas are actually quite plentiful.
Right. The truly successful entrepreneurs are simply the individuals with the discipline to protect their best hours for their best work.
And protecting those hours requires strict rules of execution. When it is time to work on that top priority needle mover, you must put your blinders on.
What does that look like in practice?
This means absolutely no checking email, no opening Slack or Teams to see what your contractors are doing, no looking at social media.
You do not engage with the outside world, and you do not allow the outside world to engage with you until that single task is completely finished.
That is going to cause some serious notification withdrawals for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely. We are so conditioned to be constantly accessible.
But it requires a massive mindset shift regarding how you view your daily schedule. You have to stop treating your planner like a casual wish list of things you might get around to doing if the day goes perfectly.
Your planner is a binding contract for the things that must happen.
Viewing your planner as a binding contract fundamentally shifts the weight of your daily operations.
Because when you view a task as a casual intention, it is easy to bump it to Tuesday and then to Wednesday.
But if you view it as a legal document you've signed with yourself, the friction to break that contract becomes much higher. You wouldn't casually ignore a legal agreement you signed with a major client. So why are you so willing to ignore the schedule you built to grow your own life's work?
It really forces you to respect your own authority within your business. You are the boss, but you have to actually act like the boss of your own time.
So with all of this framework laid out, we want to give you your immediate next step. This is your final assignment before you close your laptop or put down your phone tonight.
Open your journal and write one single sentence. The one business goal that actually matters to me right now is blank.
And adhere to Steve's rule for this sentence. Do not edit it to sound professional.
Yeah, do not write what you think a business textbook or your investors or your peers would want you to say.
Strip away the corporate jargon and write down what you actually truly want to achieve.
Once you have that unedited truth on paper, open your planner for tomorrow morning. Block out the first 90 minutes of your day strictly for the one action that moves that specific goal forward.
Just 90 minutes. If you block that time, put your blinders on, and execute without checking your inbox, we promise you that you will stop feeling stuck by midday tomorrow.
You will have manufactured your own momentum.
It is entirely about taking back control from the chaotic environment around you and placing that control firmly back in your own hands, on your own paper.
The clarity dictates the action, and the action dictates the growth.
But before we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over regarding that mindset shift we just discussed.
That's up the planner.
Yeah. If your planner truly is a binding contract with yourself, what does it actually say about your role as an entrepreneur if you consistently break that contract just to answer someone else's urgent email?
Are you inadvertently training your clients and your team to interrupt your needle-moving work by constantly proving that you are always available?
Exactly. If you drop your life's work to respond to a message in 3 minutes, you are actively teaching them that your deep work isn't important. That's the practice. Try it this week and see what happens. Subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop, and visit pageofpossibilities.com for more journaling practices designed for entrepreneurs. Link to the full article is in the description.